Right. Thank you, councillors. May I welcome you to the ordinary meeting of council on the 13th of December 2023. I'll ask Councillor Dodd if she would make the acknowledgement of country. Thank you.
May I firstly acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we meet on today. I humbly pay my respects to the people of the Wiradjuri Nation, and I also pay my respects to the people of the Wiradjuri and Ngunnawal nations on whose land Hilltops local government area lies. And I pay my respects to their past, present and emerging elders.
Thank you. Housekeeping. If you are asked to evacuate, the emergency procedure is to exit via the door leading out of the building directly outside the council chambers and proceed to the footpath opposite the council chambers and await further instructions. This council meeting is being live streamed, recorded and published in accordance with council's live streaming in council meeting policy. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. The chair and or the general manager have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of the debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and or comments. We have one person in the gallery today. We have a statement of ethical obligations. Councillors are reminded that they will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest. Oh, pardon me. Councillor Foreman, would you like to read that?
Okay. Right. Councillors are reminded that they will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment as per their oath or affirmation of office made under section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993.
Thank you. This afternoon we have one application for leave of absence, and that is for Councillor Greg Armstrong. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Ingram, and a seconder. Councillor Pearson, those in favour? Unanimous. Now, I think I missed that, public forum. So, we have one person in the public forum. Would you like to come forward? Thank you, Mrs. Thorne.
Test. Yep. Senior staff. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to again speak on the matter of item 12.9 on your agenda. And councillors and senior staff would be aware of the letter that I sent about a week ago on the matter leading up to this, so that there would be informed debate. It appears that it's resonated with the staff, so there's really not a lot to talk about. Condition E5 was already recommended that the fence to the south side or the closed Park Avenue grassed rollover bank was conceded and is not now required as per the condition. Condition E11, some sanity has prevailed and a recommendation to number 2A, 2B, 2C in a logical order towards number 4 Calabash Street. And condition B3, our middle ground position of no curb and gutter has now been met. The client still would like to put the position for debate that it's a quiet street and favours 2, maybe 3 properties. And status quo would be far more desirable, but that might be a bridge too far. But for debate, that would be interesting. I don't believe that wholesale traffic or the way that the DCP was worded in my time, you could evaluate such things and you could measure and try to work out whether it was fair or reasonable to do so, not just blindly apply it everywhere. I'll rest and I will pause somewhere near here in case my 2 minutes of comeback is required.
Question? Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Fulmer, so you've just told me, I believe, beside a little bit of digressing, that you're comfortable with the recommendations in front of councillors today.
The revised recommendation as placed in your December agenda is the middle ground position my clients were aiming for.
Thank you. Just to clear it up.
Hey, thank you. We'll now go on to sympathy expressions, and I'd ask everybody to stand for a minute's silence to express our sympathy at the passing of Margaret Elkins, Stephen Parkinson, Mary Potts, Joseph Neal, Loretta Shea, Therese Fulmer, Nerida Troth Black, Gloria Patterson, Alfred Carson, Rita Fogarty, Mary Carter, and Eileen Grogan. Thank you. We'll move on to 6, confirmation of minutes. Is there in front of you? Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Foreman. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hewson. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Next one, disclosure of interest. Oh, pardon me, 6.2. Pardon me. The extraordinary meeting, confirmation of the minutes. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Flannery. And do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Flannery, your question.
This is the confirmation of the extraordinary meeting where the annual report was adopted. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, all those in favour? Thank you. Righto. Now we are going to move forward. 12.9, 23.330, which I think are those.
154, happy to move it.
Okay, thank you. 154 and happy to move. Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Foreman. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Right. Right. Next on the agenda.
It's going to be a long meeting.
Oh. We're up to
Are there any disclosures?
any disclosures of interest.
Yeah, I'd like to disclose a non-significant pecuniary interest in item 12-6, 23/327, specifically DA 2023/0193. As it's just considering the report, if appropriate, I'll speak to it. If not,
Thank you.
Councillor, do you have a disclosure? Or?
Councillor?
I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest under section D on item 15.3 23/345 award of contract investigations, designs and costings. I'm not sure whether I should read the rest of that out or not. Shall I, General Manager? Basically, Part D refers to membership as a council's representative of the board or management committee of an organisation that is affected by a decision or a matter under consideration in circumstances where the interests of the council and the organisation are potentially in conflict in relation to the particular matter. Councillor Piper may or may not also wish to do the same. It's up to him.
Yes, I'll have to do that too. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to move on. Okay, thank you, Mr. General Manager. If we move forward, 12.9, 23/330.
If I'll ask the acting director, Mr. Glenn Piero, to come to the microphone for any questions from councillors in relation to the application 12.9 23/330 application to modify development consent number DA 2019/00029 for subdivision 3 lots at 5 Park Avenue. Young. We move it forward. We move 12.9 to move it forward.
I'm happy to move the item.
Second.
All those in favour? Madam Mayor,
Yes.
you've got a mover and a seconder. We don't need the report.
Are there any questions?
Yep.
Yes, we did. We did. If there are no questions, is that a vote or a question?
Well, if you put it to the vote, we'll vote, Madam Mayor, but we'll be here all day if you don't.
All right, I'll put it to vote.
What a shambles.
Those in favour? Thank you. Back to 8. All right, we're back, councillors, to the mayoral minute, and this is April 1, the general manager's contract renewal. We will go into confidential about this. So, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Dodd, and a seconder, Councillor Pullman. Thank you. Those in favour? Everybody. Okay.
So, if I ask the staff and the public gallery to move, it's the mayoral minute in relation to the general manager's contract renewal, and council will go into confidential.
We're up to. Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you. It's good to see council working together. Okay, we're up to mayoral reports. They're there. I didn't make it this time to the CRJO for a number of reasons, but our GM stood in for it. And can I say that the end of year assemblies have been a delight. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Tannery, and seconder, Councillor Mackey. I think your hand is up. All right, And we'll move on to Councillor. Oh, vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Councillor reports. Councillor Armstrong has his, as stated. Councillor Dodd, do you have anything more to add?
Sorry.
Okay. Councillor Fitzgerald.
As ministered.
Thank you. Councillor Foreman.
I would just like to add on the 11th of December, I attended the Young Sports Advisory Committee meeting, and on the 12th of December, I attended the Cherry Festival meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mackie.
As ministered.
Thank you. Councillor Piper. Thank you. Councillor Ingram.
Meetings and workshops as minute, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Meetings as minute, Madam Mayor, plus Geelong VPA meeting on the I lost it. You probably had it somewhere. On the 7th of December, I also omitted the 2 Remembrance Day ceremonies in the previous report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald. Is your... Have I? I have too. How about Councillor Stedman?
Just a question, Madam Mayor. It says on the top of page 31 that these are councillor meetings attended, but some of these are obviously going to schools and handing out books and so forth, or having a phone call with someone. Where are we drawing the line on what's an actual meeting and what's an invitation to sit in the audience and clap and hand out a book? Because I've done about 10 of those and I've bothered to put them down.
It's at your discretion, Councillor. Would you like to report?
I don't. We're going to have some fun at the next meeting then. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we should put engagement as well. You think? Councillor Hewson.
Extraordinary meeting, constituents meetings, Cherry Festival, GM performance review, and I'm here meeting.
Okay. Now, I haven't missed anybody, have I? I hope. Okay, let's go on to, do I have a mover and a seconder? A mover, Councillor Flannery, and a seconder, Councillor Piper. Those in favour? Thank you, everybody. Let's move on to 11, Community Recognition Scheme. Do we have anybody tonight?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Dodd.
To put forward Young Meals on Wheels, and particularly their staff and especially their volunteers. They offer dedication, selflessness and kindness, often going above and beyond to offer outstanding services and providing a positive impact on the lives of many in our community. And I've just been particularly aware of what they've been doing recently. In October, they celebrated 60 years of Meals on Wheels in Young, which is a notable achievement in itself. Not only do they provide meals delivered to people's homes for a reasonable price, but working closely with Young Community Transport, they offer outings, wellbeing tips, regular newsletters and monthly meals. I recognise that staff are paid for their efforts. However, they provide exceptional service and support, much more than the minimum required. Through forward thinking, careful planning and strategic actions, they have expanded the area they reach into and the capabilities of their operations. The volunteers give freely of their time on a regular basis, 7 days a week. They demonstrate a level of kindness and generosity that's truly commendable. They not only deliver essential sustenance, but also bring warmth, companionship, and a sense of caring to the recipients of their services. It is heartening to witness a group of individuals who willingly sacrifice their time and energy to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Their actions are an inspiration to all of us to be better, to be more compassionate, and to contribute to the well-being of our community.
Thank you, Councillor Dodd. Moving on to 12. Oh.
I've got one, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Warner.
Harden's Ken Pearsall has just been recognised for 45 years of service to the local SES. He's done everything from overland searches to water searches over that period of time, and he also works tirelessly in the local museum and historical society, cataloguing all sorts of pieces of historical value.
Okay, thank you. Righto, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Seconder, Councillor Goh. Those in favour? No. Carried. Next, we're up to the GM's report. Executive meetings attended. They're all there. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Ingram, and the seconder. Councillor Mackey, is your hand up? Okay, those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to 12/2/23, 323, and that's the General Manager's annual leave cover December 2023.
Happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you,
Seconded.
Councillor Ingram and Houston. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Next one, 12/3/23, 324, cash and investment report. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Foreman and Councillor Houston. Councillor Foreman, do you want to make a comment?
No, I've had a look over it. I like that we are starting to really get good interest on our investments, though. It's good to see. So that's encouraging. So yeah.
Thank you. There are no more comments. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll move to 12/4/23, 325, outstanding rates and charges and sundry debtors report. A mover. Thank you, Councillor Stedmiller, and a seconder. Councillor Piper. Any questions?
Question of the director.
Councillor Piper.
Have we started the notification of the people who have not paid their rates? Have we started sending them letters and knocking on the door yet?
That's been going on for several months now. But the sale of land, we've actually just issued another notice. So we'll be starting that with new governance manager. We'll be starting that about mid-January and getting the advertisements out in total. Sorry? Is it off? Oh, it's low. Is it off? No? Sorry, I'll just repeat. I'll repeat that. Yeah, no, that's that task is still underway. So we're issuing about a couple of hundred letters every couple of weeks. I've had to extend some payment arrangements longer than what we normally would, but for those that are struggling. But that's fine. I mean, it just means we might be taking a bit longer to recover some of those payment arrangements. But then also the sale of land. So we've sent the last lot of letters out. That'll then commence about January. Get advertised for 3 months. An EOI for one of the auctioneers. Presumably that probably, I'm looking at that probably happening about April, May. Not sure they can do it all in one go. There's quite, as you saw on that list of last month, there's a big list of clients. So we're guided by the auctioneer whether we do 1 or 2 auctions there.
Any more questions? If not, I will put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll turn to 12/5/23, 326, info system status, December 2023. Do I have a mover? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Flannery, and a seconder, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Flannery.
The report writing and training, training for financial reporting through X-Loan scheduled for today and tomorrow. Is that proceeding? Correct. Yes, that's happened today. Staff in finance and infrastructure. So what's actually involved in that? Financial reporting. Basically, it's extracting information out of the system where you might not have a standard report. So some of the reports we currently produce, which are quite intense, we'll be actually be able to draft reports so that we can actually extract information, which will save a lot of manual work.
So what's an example?
Well, it might be, say, the capital works report, the financial capital works report. We'll be able to actually extract that out more easily than we readily do, where we're not using spreadsheets and so forth. We'll be able to extract the information automatically. So, and I've told this afternoon that it's proceeding quite well. So as I stated there, they wanted an extra month. So they're talking now about mid-February. Once they started using the system, we'll then do a follow-up. So we'd have another follow-up training session.
So when you say we can now extract capital works reports, we haven't been able to do that in the past. Haven't been able to go into.
It's a massive manual task, and even grant reconciliations is a manual task. Extracting information out of the ledger, putting together on spreadsheets. We'll be looking at actually designing reports to extract that information, which will then mean staff will not be then spending so much manual tasks. So that's the whole intention. So we can actually move forward.
So we haven't been able to just basically use function keys to extract capital works reports to date, or we still can't.
We pull them out of the ledger, but there's a lot of manual work that sits behind that to do that information, to extract that information.
When you say manual work, what do you mean?
It's extracting information out of the ledger and putting it on spreadsheets and be able to present it in the format required. So that's the idea of the Excel Financial One reporting, which I was told today they'd had a little bit of training on 5 or 6 years ago, but it stopped there. And so they've been I've had some very positive feedback today, so I'm really pleased.
Now, can I just ask, when you do move away from the whole spreadsheet, the instance of errors will be reduced.
Yeah, you've always got to be careful with formulas sitting in the back of spreadsheets, and then you'll have an issue with roundings, which you can't avoid, so you've got to force figures in. I mean, spreadsheets are great, but actually love spreadsheets, but you need to obviously be conscious of the fact when you're extracting the information across and making sure it then reconciles back to the ledger, we'll be pulling this information out automatically. So it's going to save a lot of manual work that people can then be, with some of the reporting that we're going to be required to do, people will be engaged in much more proactive information gathering.
Sorry.
Question through you, Madam Mayor, or comment, or whatever they can take. Thank you, CFO. The bit of a new update. When I look at this report, I know it seems that I've read it 2 or 3 times before. We're just rehashing from month to month. The most basic of this stuff has been reported to us a couple of times already.
I'll give you, there's a couple of things I can add.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. There's a couple, and I appreciate that, but I don't know if we need to keep rehashing what you've been giving us for 3 months. That's all.
No, I would agree with that.
And I've seen it in an ERIC report 18 months ago. So a lot of it is just rehash. It looks good as 2.5 pages, but if we just get up to date with where we are to what we've achieved in that month or 6 weeks, would probably be helpful to everyone. Thank you.
Sure.
I would say that I think that's a great idea, but I'd love to think that there was confidence in the room that they believed what we've already seen, because I think there's some people in the room that just still don't have great faith in what they're trying to achieve. So I get where you're coming from, that, we've reread it, but sometimes I just think, how come people just won't come along on the journey, because it's such a big process, and people still are in denial that we need to stick to it and see what it's capable of doing.
I agree with what you're saying. I've never.
I wasn't actually.
But it was just about the point, and there's a lot of work to be done, and it's frustrating, but it's no more frustrating than getting a 555-page document with 2 pages that I've read 4 times. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The progress that we made, has it cost us any money?
No.
So this is all free.
Well, it's internal training.
Tech One are giving us training.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Suppose the consolidated report just shows how it is growing all the time.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I missed that.
Comment.
Just the consolidated report that you give all the time. It just adds to the information.
Correct. Yeah.
Councillor Flannery.
Perhaps I'm of little faith, but I find it unbelievable 6 years down the track we can't get capital works reports by literally hitting a few keys on a computer. I mean, but perhaps that's why we've overspent our capital works budgets, or we haven't spent it at all because we don't know where we're up to. But in this day and age, to find that we've just now learning how to pull capital works budgets out, I'm actually lost for words.
It's more than just capital works reports. There's other reports such as grant funding and actually end of year reports as well that we need to produce for financial statements. So this will go a long way to easing the manual work that's currently required and produce that the staff have never been trained to that level. So I'm quite confident we're going to achieve that now.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Park.
Would it be possible to, this is our last meeting, but next year, give us an update of what we had 12 months ago and what we have in January or February? What particular items in Tech 1 have improved, are now usable compared to what we had 12 or 18 months, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. All right. If we've had discussion, I will put it to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to 12.6, 23, 327. The application.
Councillor Pipe, you'll have to move a resolution for that if you want an answer, I think.
I move a resolution that.
Thank you. We've passed it at the moment. Let's go to 12.6, 23, 327 development application stats for November 2023. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Foreman. And the seconder, Councillor Ingram. Any questions, Councillor Foreman?
Madam Mayor, Smith, for the Director, Smith Street, Harden, could we please be advised of where it's up to?
Sorry?
Smith Street, Harden.
Smith Street, Harden. There was actually a site meeting last Wednesday with the consultant acting for the developer to resolve some of the outstanding issues in relation to that proposal.
And what was the site meeting about, if you wouldn't mind? And what issues remain outstanding?
In general terms, it was in relation to the proposed roadworks, the existing tree on site, and how they could adapt the subdivision layout to facilitate those issues.
Thank you.
Have plans been provided of sewer and water connections, or is that?
No, I think they're still trying to develop the layout, and then that will follow from that. So once they actually got the correct lot layout and the road design sorted, then the sewer and water will then follow from that.
So I've been advised that the proponent has been asked to provide details to council of the location of water and sewer connections which are on council land. Is that correct?
Not aware of that, but I can certainly follow that up for you.
Question 3, Madam Mayor. On page 53, DA 2023/0104, and I noticed it comes up in a moment in our business paper, but I'm just wondering what could possibly have kept it there for 156 days. You can take your time if you like, because it comes up in a minute, and I'll ask the question again. So,
yep.
So put you on notice it's coming. Thank you. Happy to wait for your answer when the item comes up.
Sorry.
So through you, Madam Mayor, Acting Director of Planning, the question was in relation to the 79 Wickham Lane, Young. That's correct, Councillor Ingram? Yep. and that's a report later on that I'll be reporting upon. So the councillor has just given you a heads up that he'll have some questions. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you. If there are no more questions, I will put it to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. I think we're moving to 12/7, 23, 328. Okay, thank you, Councillor Stadmiller and Councillor Ingram. Do we have any questions? If not, I will put it to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Next one is 12/8, 23, 329, and this is the Wickham Lane.
Happy to move with a question.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram, and a seconder. It's on page 94. Councillor Foreman. Okay, Councillor Ingram.
Yes, as I just mentioned, I'm just wondering what could possibly have held this DA up for 156 days.
Not aware of anything at this point, but I can take the question on notice and give you a more detailed response.
And look, I respect the point that you're here filling in. I just might point out my reading on the details of the proposal on page 96, and I might have this wrong, my glasses worked properly, but it's a matter of installing 5 more rows to an existing 12 rows of grapes on trellis. When you go back and do your investigating to find out why this took 156 days, I'll be interested, because it says here, and I hope my glasses didn't let me down, the main concern relating to the proposal is the potential spray drift, which is a consideration of the young DCP, which requires a 40-metre buffer between intensive plant agricultural development and land in separate ownership, which is fair enough. Except from my reading of the pretty little photo, the 5 new rows are further away from the neighbour. The existing rows are already there that join onto him. The main concern relating to this proposal is the potential spray drift. You have got to be joking. The 5 new rows are further away than the existing ones. Does anybody proofread? Does anybody do anything to make sure, as I mentioned earlier on in the discussion earlier on, when these things come before councillors, and the greatest respect to yourself, I know it's new and you're there, and I don't expect you to have the answer for me, but I expect one to come from somewhere in regard to this comment. At the next council meeting, I'll be quite happy for it to happen then. But this is just not good enough, Mr. General Manager.
Duly noted.
So if I may, just in relation to the application, so prior to the application, the proposal was a hobby. Yep. And it's now commercial. So that's, yep. True.
Thank you.
I would also like to make the comment that EPA regulations.
Just a moment, Councillor Flannery. I think you've got the right to speak without interruption.
Excuse me.
Councillors, Councillor Flannery has the floor.
I'd like to make the comment that these issues are governed by EPA regulations as an overriding factor. I mean, for council to stick their bib in this, and I did seek to amend this in the LEP, but it got reversed by more knowing councillors, 6 of whom are sitting in here tonight. But I mean, we talk about growth of the hilltops, or the young or Harden or Burrowa. If you want to stifle growth, put up with this rubbish.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. If there are no more comments, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Let's turn now to. We have.
I'm going to be a bit rude here, Mr. General Manager. Do you think we get rid of the echo in the building? I mean, it's been going on for 2 years.
The echo.
Surely the Madam Mayor's capable of running the meeting now.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see, this echo. My hearing aid. 12, 10, 23, 331, 10 Old Tamora Road, stormwater
Happy to
drain.
move the recommendation.
Thank you, councillor Ingram. Seconder. Thank you, councillor Flannery. Any comments? If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll turn to 1211 23 332, and that's the integrated water cycle
Happy to move
management
that way, Madam Mayor.
strategy. Thank you, councillor Ingram. Thank you, councillor Flannery. Question.
I'd like to speak.
Well, you,
I'd like to speak against putting this integrated water cycle management strategy out to the public. I'm sorry, councillors, you've heard this before in a couple of workshops. The councillors who were present. My thoughts in regard to this matter. For the general public who are not aware, ratepayers in the form of Young LGA and Harden LGA, this is bigger than any SRV might have been, I can tell you. There's a couple of things about the report. The first is, I don't know why it was ever done, and it was offensive to me that it was suggested that they need to give costings both as individuals, which they are now, separate, and together. I don't believe that was necessary. I do note that what I will call biased opinion that was in the workshop paper given to us in confidentiality has changed before it met the open meeting. The paragraph about where it was a biased opinion, and it's not the usual thing to be done, until I pointed out that Cootagundy guy indeed kept their separate, and they're right next to us. But I'm pleased to see staff have obviously admitted that that was probably not necessary to be in it, but it's a bit like the judge and the jury. You know, I object, yeah. Jurors disregard that statement, but it's too late. It's been said. They bring this to us with an option of putting it out there on display that an option could be to join the water and sewer funds together. The draft IWCM strategy is Council's resourcing strategy for providing appropriate, affordable, cost-effective and sustainable urban water services that meet community needs and protect public health and environment. The question is, who's going to pay for it? So at the moment, with water and sewer, if you look at the figures that were given to us in the quarterly budget review for these three separate funds, you'll note that the operating surplus in the Young and Water and Sewer Fund is just a tad over $1 million surplus between those two funds. If you look at the Harden Water and Sewer, you'll note in round figures about $545,000 surplus. Again, funds that have been contributed to and paying pretty well. You go to the Burra Water Fund and you have a surplus of $2,168. I should round that off. I've been rounding off $2,170. You go to the Burra Sewer Fund and their operating surplus, going to round down this time, $300. Now, if that doesn't tell everyone sitting in this room in the wider community that there's been a failure with how the Burra Water and Sewer Funds have been run in previous years, and I don't mean the last 4 or 5, I mean the last 10 or 15. You'd have to go back and ask the councillors at Burra, former councillors, why the charges were never increased to meet the oncoming costs. So here we are sitting here now, being told that an option is, let's join them all together, and guess what? Fix the problems over in Burra. And I said before, in a private workshop, I feel for the residents of Burra. I really do. That doesn't mean I'm going to pay for it. You probably need to talk to your local members and the member for Goulburn about it. The concept that the community would be happy enough to see that happen when you can see the surplus has been run out of those two funds, which are there for a reason. We've been playing overs for years because of some very smart thinking people who work for council, including one who's a councillor now, and I can say because he's not here. And we've increased the form of payments in the Young Water and Sewer every year for a reason. So we could have upgrades and we could have surpluses. And one of the things that we thought about, Council Flannery and I, when this all started, was overpaying for new sewerage works in Young. At the time, I made a commitment and said, no one else will be asked to pay for it, bar the users. And that's how I'll fight for it. And that's how it will stay. And it's been paid for by the residents of the Young LGA. And so it will remain. So are the water and sewer upgrades. What's more concerning, councillors, when you look at how this has been presented in a report to us, with all these little graphs and little, how much it might cost if we stay together, and it won't cost anyone any more, it'll be good, everyone will be better. Well, no, it won't be. The people in the former Young LGA be paying through the neck and they'll be being spent elsewhere. To top that off, but what the real concern is, if you go back to the council cash and investment reserves, 23-24, and you look up the external reserves there, the Young water supply has nearly $6.7 million in the water and 3.47 in the sewage. So you go to Burra's water and they've got bit over $1 million in reserve. And in their, what's the line? In their sewer, they've got $870,000. So then I find the Burra markings. They've got $1 million in water and $263,000 in sewer. The idea of joining these funds together to meet any sort of payments is just taking the money that the members of the former Young and Harden LGA have been paying for years, building up just to be spent elsewhere. It's in the report. I know it's in the report, and it's got to go a long way before it comes back to council in that manner. But I just want my feelings known from day one. I said it in workshops. This is wrong. There's no integrity in asking someone who might live in Thornhill Street to pay for someone to have water in Briar Street in Burra, or someone in Smith Street in Harden to do the same. It is repulsive. I think I used that word once before. But besides that, and the financial considerations that the former Young LGA has been subsidising, I'm not a great reader, but I thought I'd better read some of this because I'm a bit wound up about it. So I get to the first, not the first page, it's the second page. Forecast population projections in the Hilltops Council Service area. Does anyone else take any notice of these? I've got some surprises for you. According to a census, well, what picked me up straight off was the fact that it suggested Burra and surrounds have more residents than Harden. And I thought, no, I don't think that's correct. In 2013, and the census I found said Burra had 2,560 people, round figures. They're saying in 2022 it'll have 3,462. I'm not here to doubt that. That's a 32% increase. I want to be doubtful about things. I doubt very much it's grown 32% since then. But anyway, I see some funny looks, so we'll go along to Harden. So we'll just check Harden out. In 2011 census, Harden was stated as having 3,600 people. Well, guess what? They've declined. They're going back to 3,300 here. Oh, I better have a look at Young. 2011 census for Young, 12,236. What have we got now? Well, we've had a decrease too. We're down to 12,000. Now, I don't know whether you want me to go through any more pages with you or not. And the questions can all be answered at once if you like later on. We did the lead up in this recommendation. We wrote that up. This is done by Public Works, whoever and the bloke's responsible for it. Who provided these numbers with the consolidated separate funds? Who's responsible for these numbers? And I'm not going to go any further with it, because if we have the first and second page so badly presented and so inaccurate, how can I believe some of these finer details in the back of this report? You have to be joking. This is not only an indictment on the person who did this report. This is a severe indictment, I'm sorry, that people have brought it to this meeting today without fact checking anything, Madam Mayor. This is just not good enough. I don't know how many times I've got to say it. And for that reason, I cannot, and I can't see how any of us can support putting something out to the public for 50 odd days, whatever it is, when it's incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Director?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The report was prepared by Public Works New South Wales, and it was on the strength of the issues paper that was presented to Council. The paper that is presented to you is as per a resolution of Council that we continue with an IWCM process. And the IWCM process is based on the New South Wales Best Practice Management Framework for Water and Sewer Business. And that is the format of the report that has been presented. A lot of the data that you see here, at the time the resolution was agreed when the issues paper was provided and gone through Council, was that ID population was going to be used for the population figures, and that's what's been consistent through the report. The numbers themselves, the identification of capital works programs for this work that was undertaken was through the condition assessments that was taken after the issues paper was concluded. Then it went through to the condition assessment, and based on the condition assessment, Public Works then put together from their vast database of capital works how much it would cost to put that together, and then it was presented in a model. As you can see, the model that was used in this work was part of a model developed by Public Works. They do a lot of these IWCM business framework models for many councils, and that's what was applied. This is a document that Public Works have done, and it is based on the previous resolutions of Council as to the direction. Public Works do provide the whole idea of the IWCM business management framework is to see what the affordability is of any capital investment and any operation and maintenance and administration costs that is required to administer a water and sewer business. And that's what they've used in this paper that they presented, and the things that need to be identified. That is how the paper was constructed. And it was based on several reports that have already gone to Council, the first being the issues paper, then the second being the condition assessment. And the assumptions in the model was also presented in the issues paper, and that was what was maintained in this document.
Thank you. I'll go back to a simple question then. I thought it was simpler than that. Where did the direction come from for an option to have it merged, the water and sewer funds, in the first place? We are separate water and sewer funds. We do it not. The report, and we'll know it, the IWCM report has to be done. So why wasn't it done exactly how our funds are situated currently? Who suggested amalgamating the funds? You know, I took offence at that workshop that was inconfidential because there was a biased statement, an opinion by staff in there. And that's just probably a great time to remind everyone about that the job to present these reports to us are to present them as best to your ability with the facts that you were provided, not opinions. It's up to councillors with their opinions to make the decisions on these matters. So I'll ask the question again. Where did the direction come from in regard to merging the water and sewer funds?
Through you, Madam Mayor, when the issues paper as well as the condition assessment was presented to Council, it was identified then that it would be modelled on a single fund. It wasn't a direction of Council or a resolution of Council that the funds be presented as one single fund. When the review of the first IWCM draft came out, it was then identified that the draft included just a single model, and that was a model of a single fund for water and a single fund for sewer. The request was then taken back to PWA to advise them that they really needed to look at the modelling of the three separate funds. And that's why that has been included. This was not included in the original scope of work that was provided to PWA in the 2019 and 2020 resolutions of Council.
You lost me there somewhere. You're saying to me that you were directed to provide this report with these funds amalgamated together. Is that what you just told me?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I said that when the issues paper was presented
there's no resolution of Council.
There is no resolution of Council that it's a single fund.
We've got that clear. So where did the direction come from to give two options? One, as the funds stand now, and there's no extra work or money involved in keeping that way. We've been through all that before. And it's fair to and just and ethical to everyone. Where did the idea to make this report with two options?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I cannot advise as to why PWA in their original scope provided a draft report that had a single fund. That was a report that came as a draft, and we then requested that further work be done to separate the funds. And we captured all the work that has been prepared for the IWCM in a single paper for Council's consideration.
Thank you, Madam Director. Appreciate that. I'm not going to go on any further about it. I've stated my case, and page 1 tells the story of this document. Councillors, there's no way of having my support to go to the public.
Thank you.
Question, Madam Mayor. Are the figures provided based on the reserves being amalgamated when we look at what the future cost would be if consolidated?
Through you, Madam Mayor, what the report does provide is, because the whole business best practice management framework focuses on the affordability of the water and sewer to the domestic user. What is important to note, and that is a framework that is part of the New South Wales government's best practice management framework, is that they consider the domestic user, they don't consider commercial customers, and they also don't consider any thing outside of a typical residential bill. And that is all that is considered in that, is the typical residential bill. And that impact is where the report provides the capital investment that is required to deliver on the outcomes of the condition assessment. And based on that capital, those are the numbers that are run to get to a typical residential
I'll have
bill.
to interject. Yeah, the question was, are the figures on page 179 based on the amalgamation of the reserves currently held? It's a yes or no question.
True, Madam, is that 179 of the report?
When it seems very clear to me, or to the untrained reader perhaps, that the table looks very simple, that if you amalgamate the funds, Harden and Young are only paying another $100 more than they might otherwise be. And I might suggest that once you have thrown all the reserves from Harden and Young, towards future investment, the picture looks surprisingly better than it might otherwise be if you were to quarantine the existing reserves and then apply them.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the table on page 179, table 2, provides a consolidated view. What has been modelled is the capital investment and what the impact would be on a typical residential bill. So if you take a look at Harden...
So to answer the question, the consolidated fund would be also amalgamating the reserves of the existing Harden and Young.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the consolidated view would be that all of the funds are consolidated, and if you take a look at the separate funds, the funds are maintained separately, and that's what that table is providing.
So I would put it to you that perhaps it might be considered measly minded that if we were to vote against the consolidation, when it might seem that everyone's only paying $100 more, but they're in fact losing all their reserves, as outlined by Councillor Ingram.
And I did go as far as to say that the numbers in these little funds here are estimates and guesstimates at the very, very best. That the substantial extra cost to the user in the former LGA of Young and former LGA of Harden will be astronomical, and it won't be supported.
Hey, thank you,
Through you, General Manager. Why do they model it on a 30-year plan? Is there any particular reason for that, or?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the best practice management framework, which is what this document is based on, speaks to a 30-year plan. And you will see the graphs indicate when the capital investment is expected to be incurred, and then it models. You will see there's a dip in some of the graphs. That's when that amount of capital expenditure has been paid back, and then it drops down. So it is over a 30-year period, and that's part of the framework, and that's part of the best practice guidelines that they have followed.
Okay, thank you.
No, I don't have a question actually. Since it's a motion, I've got people speaking for and against it, is my understanding. And Councillor Ingram, who moved the motion, spoke against it. So I was just a little bit confused, but that's all right.
Are you confused by questions or? I didn't speak for or against. I asked questions.
That's fine. I didn't mention you, Councillor Henry, although I will now because
Councillor Fitzgerald, are you speaking for?
I'm speaking for the motion.
Thank you.
I'm speaking for the motion because both Councillor Ingram and Councillor Henry have much more experience than I have in local government areas, and they have experience in two different councils, Hardin, Young and Hilltops. And I take on board their experience and the points they make and they have made previously. And to fully appreciate these points will take me a little bit longer than a 10 or 20 minute discussion at the council or a couple of days looking at the documents in front of me. I know the documents have been out for a while, but I'm still in a position or not in a position to fully appreciate all the import from one side or the other. It's 130 pages. There's a lot of technical issues there, issues that I'm not experienced with, and it's going to take me time to get up to speed to really understand them. Because at a certain point in time, I'll be asked to make or be part of making a decision on whether we go with this strategy or not. And I don't have all that information with me at this point in time. My feeling is that there is so much in there, and there are people in our community, the Hilltops community, who would have a better understanding of this and implications of this, and I'd like to get their input. That's why I think putting it out for public exhibition would give me a second or another pile of information from the Hilltops community about what's best, what they want, what they don't. At the moment, I'm not sure exactly how I should vote. I'd like to spend some time to examine it in detail. I would like to consider all the submissions that are made, and I appreciate the expertise of both Councillor Ingram and Flannery on this. I'd like to get up to a position where I can intelligently debate and talk with them about what they've raised, and that's going to take me time. So what I'd like to do is vote for the motion, so we have 56 days of community consultation. We can appreciate it, we can then come back to it and make an intelligent decision. But at the moment of just voting no, I just think there's 130 pages of, I think, important stuff there that we need to consider. So I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Do we have another person supporting the motion or against the motion?
I'll now speak against the motion. Following questions. I speak against this motion. I don't agree in any way, shape or form in amalgamating the funds. I think the ratepayers have paid their reserves paid their rates for water and sewer for many years, and those have gone towards the reserves to upgrade their existing plant. The Hardin plant is aging. I think it's 70 years of age, and I certainly don't support that money being used to fund other developments elsewhere, when their expectation is that the treatment plant at Hardin will be upgraded in a ready state, and when it needs to be upgraded, they'll have to pay more for the upgrade of that plant, but not for elsewhere.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment?
That's
There's a lot of information here. When it says maintaining the separate water funds would result in a significant cost increase for customers in Burrawa, where typical residential bills would need to increase by $1,600 per year from 1,000 to 2,600. So you have water that no one can drink historically all my life, and then to think that it's still beyond the means of everyone. It's pretty crazy that we're still arguing about potable water.
Do you want to make a comment?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The issues paper identified one of the single most biggest issues that was presented in the issues paper. And the issues paper is what is needed in the water and sewer to service the community and provide a level of service. And the biggest issue for Burrawa, unsurprising, was the water issue. It was raised there, and one of the delays of finalising this investigation and this report was the actual ultimate solution for the Burrawa community in terms of what would be the solution. There's a bunch of information in this report, and I know there's a lot of information there with a lot of technical detail, but it ultimately identified that the most favourable triple bottom line solution for Boorowa, and there's been many reports and many backwards and forwards with the Department of Planning and Environment and others onto what the most favourable solution would be on that one issue that was identified fairly strongly, was a pipeline from Harden to Boorowa. That either can be fully borne, whether, and I would like to make the point that the total at the point in time in 2021 dollars, the total cost of upgrading the treatment plant and providing offsite storage compared to the pipeline, there was very little difference in the actual capital and depreciation costs. So either, if there is a solution for Boorowa, which has been identified to be delivered to Boorowa, they either carry the whole cost of that capital investment, or in a consolidated fund, the cost of it differs. You will also note that if you take a look, for example, at the Harden sewage treatment plant, which needs an upgrade, which needs significant capital investment, is also in the report there. If the funds are kept separate, the Harden consumer will pay more to fund that investment for the sewage works. And that's what that separate and I'm not saying that it's either consolidated or kept separate. That is the decision of council, and I fully take that on board. All this report is presenting is the work that has been done to provide that information.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Dodd.
I have a question. So the integrated in the title is really that this report covers all the areas of Hilltops. It's not saying
Correct.
that it's going to be funded in just by a consolidated by the consolidated funds. It's just saying that this is actually the management strategy for water and sewer across Hilltops.
No, it's going to be consolidated. One option is consolidation.
One option is consolidated.
One is separation.
But then there's all the other options, which are what would happen if it's not consolidated. So it's the payment part of it is there either consolidated or not, but the integrated is really about the strategy for Hilltops, and we need those things. We need those upgrades in Harden and Boorowa, water and sewer. But whoever pays for it, that's a separate issue. This is about the strategy we have for managing water and sewer in Hilltops going forward. Is that right?
And the report doesn't tell the full facts. It doesn't say that the rates that have been paid by the existing users of the separate towns are going to be amalgamated and put into one big melting pot and then go. And I'm sorry to say, but the reality is the Boorowa ratepayers haven't been paying sufficiently for future depreciation for upgrades. And that's the reality. And the next thing I'll hear from someone is say, let's get a grant. Grants are money they give you, and then you pay it back with depreciation, which must go into your rates. So you can say it however you like. The reality is those who benefit from capital assets should pay for them.
I just had a question, more or less. And I will talk in favour of this. But my presumption would be that as a Hilltops, if in the future or at present we need to upgrade, we need to find the funds for it, borrow the money, then as a Hilltops consolidated body, we have a lot more gravitas than if we try to raise those funds as the separate entities. Would I be right in thinking that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that would be correct if the funds were consolidated. And there is significant work, whether it's a consolidated fund or an individual fund, the work that is articulated in the paper needs to be done to provide sustainable and affordable water and sewer services for the Hilltops community, and the individual communities should council decide or determine to maintain the individuality of those funds.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have had 2 people speak against and 2 speak for.
I'd like to use my right of reply, Madam Mayor.
Yes, you do. Before we put to the floor, that your right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to agree with Councillor Fitzgerald 100%. Maybe 99%, I should say. I'd love to put this out. You know what? I cannot honestly put information out to our community that is false and incorrect. How minor it might be to me, when you turn a document over with the importance that this document's supposed to have, and that's obvious by the discussion in the room, and the first page you get to is wrong, and you expect me to say, yes, I'm going to hand that out to the community. Of course it's got to go to the community. But the way it should go to the community, it's factual. So, yeah, I support the idea. It's got to go out on exhibition, but it needs to go out correctly and with factual information. Well, that's another thing. The second point I'd talk to, and it's the water at Burra, and again, I really do. But as I said to you before, councillors, when the former Mayor of Burra became administrator and then I became Mayor of Hilltops Council, this was a done deal. The pipeline was a done deal. The minister then resigned. Oh, but all the work's been done, so that's really good. Well, guess what? Dug and they chased work, and to the director's credit, she's still working at it now. There was nothing there that we were told would be there. So it's been going on for a long time, and I really feel for a community in this, and I've advocated for it with ministers. The Burra was like an hour and 10 from our nation's capital, and they got water there they can't drink. It's just not acceptable. Of course you should have good water. The point I'm making is people, the former young LJ and hardened LJ, are not going to pay for it. It'll have to come from Greens, and it'll have to come from the Burra community. It's a user pays fee. So I feel for you there. But as for Madam Mayor's comment about trying to emphasise the comment that a consolidated fund would make it easier on everyone, no, that's pretty obvious because that's in the report, and that tells me a couple of things, that you're quite happy to subsidise that, and that you're obviously not standing at the next election, because I will make this bigger, much bigger than any SRV.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a
Councillor
question
Ingram?
through you, Madam Mayor, of the General Manager?
Councillor Piper.
Who paid for the water for Young and for Harden for the pipeline? Who paid for that?
To you, Madam Mayor, the existing infrastructure in the former shires was paid by all those from those communities, whether it was grants or levies over the periods of time.
The new sewage work was paid. The new sewage works in Young was paid for by the users of that sewer system by an increase in their fees and charges. As we explained to the community, it was a significant increase at the time. The reason it was done was to pay for the new infrastructure, and that's how it's been done.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion. And now I think it's time to put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against?
Mr. GM, would it be appropriate that somehow that there is a precursor to this report going to the public, identifying the first obvious blatant mistake in the report? How can you talk to people and talk to over and all them numbers they've got in the back here going based on these numbers, which are so wrong? I cannot follow council wanting to put that out there to the public when this is so incorrect, and they've found all that rest of that report and all them numbers, they're all working on these population numbers here that are so wrong. No, the census numbers, right? The numbers in here are wrong.
All right. I'll take that on notice, Councillor.
Councillor Mackie just asked me how I know. I did say earlier on in 2013, a census, the government census of Burra had your population at 2,560. No, they were right. These are right.
Thank you, councillors. The matter's been resolved.
I'd like to answer Councillor Mackie's question. Yeah, Councillor Mackie would like to hear my answer. Thank you. The census numbers, they're not on the page. You have to look them up on Google. It's pretty simple. That's where I looked them up. Former council areas.
Thank you.
I mean,
and I know I'm not
Councillor
supposed to
Mackie, you asked
thank
me a question, Madam Mayor. It's a disgrace. You can't go to the public with that. Gee, you're right there. You're right there.
Yeah, I think this report is, it has a lot of issues that are coming in, and it's important that we go out and have a look at these things. But I have a question of the Director for Infrastructure, and it's on my business papers, page 314. At the bottom, the second last paragraph, it says, in particular, the young has been considered for a possible composting facility which may be able to use existing council-owned land at the Victoria Street Waste Facility or near the Young Sewage Treatment Plant. I remind the Director of a visit to a composting facility we made earlier this year. Would that composting facility be what's in mind, or is that another alternative, or are they talking for something different?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the composting facility that we visited, I believe there's been some changes to that particular facility. The commentary in the paper as an update to councillors is the CRJO, which is the Canberra Regional Joint Organisation, has commissioned a whole body of work on waste, and as we are part of that, they have invited us to be part of that group. And this is really an early heads up to councillors to say this is one of the things that they're looking at as a waste management strategy, as the CRJO, with all the other participating, and they have identified that there is potential. There is nothing at the moment in the pipeline. This is just identified where there could be a regional facility, and that's what that's referencing.
So just to clarify, that facility we visited could be part of it.
It's potential, but that is part of a bigger body of work. Through you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right. If there are no more questions.
Just to confirm that we're voting to note that there'll be further consultation with those villages in the months nominated.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're actually receiving a note in the report, those consultations, that's on foot. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Okay. Righto. In that case, those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Just for information on councillors, Councillor Stadmiller is unwell. I don't know whether he's left or not, but he's not in the chambers. Just he's unwell. Just letting you know.
Right, we'll move on to 1213, 23,334, Memorandum of Agreement, Southwest Regional Waste Management Group. Do I have a mover?
Can I just, before we move on, get clarification? So Councillor Stadmiller's votes being recorded as against?
Yes, they are being recorded against, as an advisor that he is not.
I'll repeat that. 1213, 23,334, Memorandum of Agreement, Southwest Regional Waste Management Group. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Foreman. And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Councillor Foreman, do you have a question or comment?
No, I don't have any questions nor comment. Thank you.
Councillor Fitzgerald?
No, just reading through it in a brief manner, I can't see anything that I would object to. I would support this recommendation.
Do you want to make anything? If that's the case, I will put it to the floor. Those in favour? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I've just been advised by the Director who's talked to Councillor Stadmiller, who is unwell and he has left the meeting.
All right, let's move on to 1214, 23,335, 2023, 24 water meter replacement program. It's in front of you. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Seconder, Councillor Piper. Councillor Flannery, you want to make a comment? Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll put it to vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Well, 15-23-336, the Capital Works Program. To provide councillors with an update on the Capital Works Program schedule. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Ingram and Councillor Fitzgerald. Councillor Ingram, do you have a comment or two?
Oh, sorry. We go to page 373. Regional and Local Road Repair Program. I'm just trying to work out, when I went back to the April business paper to get the corresponding numbers, some of them don't seem to be the same. I must have got something wrong somewhere, but for a start, Frogmore Road doesn't even appear on this list. Frogmore Road at 600,000 was taken back to 300,000. And if you go back and look at through these amendments and whatever, I don't know why this regional road repair, all these minutes are there anyway, but someone never read them because it said there Frogmore was reduced from 600 to 300, but I don't know, when I look down there, I can't find Frogmore Road on it anywhere. And then there's a question. There's the quarterly budget review one, I know. And the number expended there is fine, but Maringo Gap Road, for Bribri Road, Bibaringa Road, I'll get it right. I know there was $400,000 allocated there, and it says 354,565. And Race Creek Road's a bit the same. It's only $4,000 difference there, but I was just wondering why different numbers keep coming up, and what happened to poor old Frogmore Road?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Frogmore Road is complete. This is the Capital Works Program. It's the forward-looking program, and it is starting at December 2023. Frogmore Road, that work has been completed, and that's why it doesn't appear on this capital schedule. This is the schedule of works from December 2023 to June 2024. And Bibaringa Road is still in progress, and once the road is finalised, we will then update the expenditure once all of the work has been completed and all of the invoices, etc. There is a lag between when work is done and when all the invoices, etc. come in. We wait until we review all of the expenses against that road before we then, if there is money on any of these roads to be reallocated, it will come back to council.
Then, so Frogmore Road's completed. That's
the work undertaken.
Completed. It's all gone because it's not here. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, it's finished. Right. So anything that's finished is not on here. So that's why I couldn't. It was the only one finished. It was obviously the first one undertaken.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe that there must be more roads that have been finished in the first 6 months of this year, but have not made the schedule because this is the program going forward.
So your answer, you knew what I was going to say to you. It's just, you make it so hard to believe these reports when they are so convoluted. No wonder you have trouble keeping up with them, because you've got a fair job of trying councillors to keep up with them because they change all the time, and it doesn't say that. But anyway, no one else might be taking any notice of them, but I happen to like to know where that money's going that we allocate. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Douglas Cap Road, it's listed for 20,000 in expenditure for April 24. It has 2,890 of expenditure QVR1. So we've got 20,000 budgeted, 2,890. Could you explain, and 1,000 metres of work? As mentioned at the last council meeting, I drove along it. It's never been better in 57 years. Just wondering some details on that, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the expenditure values are as at the QBR1. And as I mentioned earlier, there are times when there are more invoices that come through post the reporting period being closed, and we maintain that budget Douglas Gap Road has been completed, but we're still making sure that we have all of the costs captured at the QBR, which is the number that you see there, is what we are reporting on this in this instance. And we will then bring a further, when we present this report again, we will update the expenditures on all of these that are present at the moment on this capital works program.
So we'll get the full budget costing of Douglas Gap Road when?
When we supply this capital works project, with this capital works program again. It is the intention at the meeting that has been scheduled for the 5th or 6th of February for the working group to actually go through this report and also see if there are any recommendations from the working group about this report. There was just not a working group and an asset working group meeting before this meeting, but we will also take this up there. But we will be bringing this report back, and we will provide the expenditures when it's available.
Okay,
Houstonia Road is listed as 191,000 expenditure. I'm assuming the answer will be the same. It says expenditure at QBR 124,692. I'm pretty sure that work's complete, or have they just done the bit at the beginning and there's more to do?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there are roads on this program that have been completed since the QBR, and the expenditure hasn't been verified, therefore it's not presented tonight.
So maybe when we get that new capital works extraction team going, they'll be able to give us all these details straight off the bat.
We look forward to it. All right, thank you.
Just one more question on
Councillor Ingram.
Madam Mayor. On that same page, and I mentioned 377, and trying to follow how you've done these numbers. I know it says 249,715 at the QBR one, the budget. But when we allocated the funding, we allocated $200,000. So how does it get to be an extra $49,715? Page 377, Tubble Road, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. In the April report, where the bargaining was done for the money, it was allocated 200,000, but all of a sudden there's nearly 50,000 more there.
Madam Mayor, that could be that there is additional funding from another source that has been added to that road. This report doesn't fully identify all the funding sources from there. And this is from the local repair and regional. This is from the funding source of the regional and local repair program. I would have to check that number.
Well, that's my point exactly, Madam Director. Regional and local road repair program. You go back to the April business paper. It says $200,000 under the same program. Now it says $249,000. I understand there might be funding from someone else, but please have it down as from somewhere else, because it goes to the fiscal management we're talking about when we allocate funds, and we need to know they're going to where they're allocated. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a discussion questions. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Okay, next on the list is the works report. All right. Okay, 1216 23 337 works report on page 381. Do I have a mover?
Moved with a comment.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram, and seconded by Councillor Flannery. Councillor Ingram.
Congratulations, you've just completely bamboozled me. There is no way ever known that I'm going to be able to keep up with the amount of gravel resheeting, not maintenance grading, that is being done. I note that there's been a correction made. Very good, so that's behind us. I think I mentioned the other day, and Councillor Armstrong said that in a recommendation, not a recommendation, a resolution of council, those details will be provided to us in the future so that we can see exactly where the work's been done and how much has been used on those particular roads.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Given its works report, I'm just looking for the details of Newson Park, I know I asked a question previously and we had 120 mils of rain, which solved a lot of the watering problems that hadn't been occurring. But my recent trips through and around Harden shows a lack of mowing along the verges of the swimming pool, in and around the swimming pool. The bottom area of the swimming pool at Harden hasn't been fenced off. Outside the tennis courts, which I mentioned the old tennis courts, because the director advised, is the mower broken down or is it not happening anymore, or what issues there may or may not be, Harden?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have had quite a bit of rain and the grass was very dead, I would say, in Harden, and then after the rain it has accelerated in growth. We are busy scheduling the work so that we get to the mowing, and that will be done in the coming weeks.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there's literally cape weed flowers. It hasn't been mown for 2 months. There's been no mowing there along those verges for 2 months. And I keep making the comments. We've got a group of councillors in the room who think we should integrate the water system. Perhaps we can get a mower from somewhere, bring it over to Harden, mow in Harden.
Plenty and young, they don't get used, do you?
I'll lend you one from Burrilla.
With your condolences, with your permission, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to one point that I wrote down there in the works report, Luke. It's just about a tree that happens to be over the road outside the Australian Hotel, a big tree. I don't know if anyone's looked at it. It's in serious need of some loving, tender care of some sort.
Okay.
Sorry, I just remembered. I was asked to mention it. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ingram. I think that has been noted. We'll move on to correspondence for information. We'll have a mover. Thank you. And seconder, Councillor Fitzgerald. Those in favour? Page 401.
No, the next one. Media releases.
Correspondence. Okay. On the other side, 402. We're up to the action summary report. Oh, we didn't get through. Those in favour? Thank you. Now we'll move on to 1218, 23,339, the action summary report. Thank you, Councillor Ingram. And a seconder, Councillor Hewson. Any questions?
Well, my questions relate to the Gaylong Road intersection. We voted down the report on Gaylong Road and Cunningar Road at the previous council meeting. Are we going to get the report? The original question or the original motion was that we provided with the details from the meetings where the roads to recovery funding was provided and what the budget cost was of those intersections, and we haven't received a report back since. So my question is, when will we be getting that report of the motions that were passed, the budget cost, the original budget costings and the expenditure on the intersections that are now complete?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that report will be brought to the February meeting.
Right. Thank you. And me? Councillor Houston? No. Councillor Fitzgerald? If not,
Comment, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Ingram,
Go
ahead.
In regard to, I haven't got enough knowledge of it, and the councillor who will ask this question isn't present at the moment, Councillor Armstrong. I don't speak for him, but I know that he had some concern in regard to why the stormwater levy was reported where it was. This information apparently said that's why it is, and I believe he will have further discussion in regard to that matter, because I'm led to believe that he believes that's incorrect. The information provided is incorrect, but I'll leave that to him.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the CFO can speak to that because he actually has spoken to Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's correct, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I had a discussion with Councillor Armstrong yesterday. So the stormwater levy has been shown in that position on the template for several years. However, our statements are currently with the audit office. Technical section's actually reviewing them. And I mentioned to Councillor Armstrong that what we'll be doing is once those papers come back, we'll move that amount into the other component where the other categories are. So that'll be adjusted.
Thank you. So
I provided that in with the response yesterday, actually.
Yeah, well, the information provided to councils in the business paper wasn't correct then.
What do you mean not correct?
Well, in regard to where the
stormwater levy had traditionally on the template been shown that particular category for several years. But it's quite easy. We're just going to move it into the other category.
And that wasn't my question. The question is what's told us here correct, or has it been brought to your attention that actually it's not correct and it has to be changed? I'm not saying it wasn't done like that in the past. I'm just saying your answer to council is in this report 100% correct.
Sorry. It currently is being reported under special rates, but we're going to actually move the component, and I can actually provide to council the response I sent to Councillor Armstrong yesterday.
It's all very well to give Councillor Armstrong a response yesterday. Councillor Ingram just wants to know if what you said in this 2-page report was correct or not correct. Or if you've had taken on more information and you wish to change what was said in this report.
Yes, you are correct. We're going to move it out of the category of special rates into the annual rate charges.
So the answer is what we're told in this report wasn't quite correct. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Let's put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Now we will move on to notice of motion. And Jan?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, due to the onset of unwell from Councillor Stadmiller, he is the councillor that put forward this notice of motion. Per the Code of Meeting Practice, under 10.4, in the absence of a councillor who has placed a notice of motion on the agenda for a meeting of council, A, any other councillor may, with the leave of the chairperson, move the motion at the meeting, or B, the chairperson may defer consideration of the motion until the next meeting of the council. So the first question, Madam Mayor, is does any councillor want to move the motion without Councillor Stadmiller here, or it be debated now in his absence, or it's up to you to defer it?
As Mayor, my choice is to defer consideration of the motion.
It's deferred
until the next meeting of council. Councillor Stadmiller will be here. May.
No.
May be here. All right. Okay.
Next item.
So that is all we have to do?
That's it.
Okay. Let's move on to confidential matters. Can I have someone to move into confidential? Thank you, and Councillor Flannery.
All
those in favour?
Yes. Yeah,
I think everybody. Righto.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Council, while in confidential, 15.2-23/344 awarded contract RFT 00009 construction of Shooties Bridge. Council resolved to receive and note the report on RFT 9 construction of Shooties Bridge, award the contract RFT 09 construction of Shooties Bridge to the successful tenderer, delegate to the authority to the General Manager to execute all necessary documentation associated with awarding of this contract and expend funds as required within current budgets. 15.3-23/345 awarded contract RFT 15 investigations, designs and costings for Harden to Rural Pipeline. Council resolved to receive and note the report on RFT 15 investigations, design and costing for Harden to Rural Pipeline. B, award contract RFT 15 to the successful tenderer. And C, delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all necessary documentation associated with the awarding of this contract and expend funds as required with current budgets. Yes, it is a lot of money, Councillor. So 15.4-23/346 Growing Regions Program Hilltops Water Supply Security. Council resolved to A, receive and note the report, and B, proceed with the stage 2 of the Growing Regions Program for all the proposed projects and delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all necessary documentation associated with the application for the Growing Regions Program. And 15.5-23/347-2023/2024 fees and charges corrections. That Council A, receive and note the report, and B, a report be brought back to Council regarding fees and charges in relation to that matter. Then 15.6 General Manager's Performance Review 2022/2023. Council resolved to A, endorse the General Manager's Performance Review for 22-23, acknowledge the valuable achievements made by myself during the review period, and C, endorse the attached General Manager's Performance Plan for 23-24 term. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. I will now wish everybody a happy Christmas and have a safe and restful New Year, and declare the meeting closed at
7:15.
7:15 on the dot.